Welcome back to another calming journey into the dusty corners of history. You are listening to Boring History for Sleep. Tonight, we will drift together through the long vanished world of feudal Japan to glimpse the life of those often forgotten beneath the gleam of polished armor and the sweeping tailies of legendary samurai. The humble foot soldier known as the Ashigaru lived a life of hardship, obscured in the shadows of their noble lords. They formed the backbone of great armies, but rarely earned glory. Only fatigue, danger, and, at best, survival. As you settle in, perhaps lying beneath a soft blanket, I invite you to relax. Let the outside world fade. We will begin our journey in a time when warlords ruled Japan, when the clang of iron echoed through mountain valleys, and when thousands of men carried spears and dreams of rising, even as their feet sank into the mud of endless battlefields. Throughout this story, we will move gently through the rhythms of their lives, the tireless polishing of armor, the long, grueling marches, nights spent beneath the cold stars, and, from time to time, a glimpse of distant grandeur that remained forever just out of reach. Tonight's journey will not race or shout. It will flow quietly with calm, measured steps, so that even as you listen, you may let your mind drift toward rest. Let us begin. Chapter 1: Polishing Armor and Carrying Spears. Imagine yourself in a small wooden barracks, its beams blackened with years of smoke from the central hearth. The faint scent of soot and oiled iron fills the air. Outside, the first pale light of dawn slips through low clouds. The years sometime in the late Sengoku period, a century of near-constant war across the islands of Japan. You are an Ashigaru, a common foot soldier. You are awake long before the sun has fully risen. The day begins not with weapons drawn, but with labor. There is armor to tend to, endlessly so. A suit of iron lamellae, bound together with cords of silk or leather, rests in your keeping. It is heavy, awkward, and prone to rust if not constantly maintained. You sit cross-legged, a small jar of oil beside you, your rough cloth moving in slow circles across each iron plate. This is not a task done with pride or reverence. It is done because a neglected patch of rust might cause the armor to fail at a fatal moment. Around you, dozens of other men are doing the same. The quiet scrape of cloth on metal fills the dim room. Occasionally, a cough or a murmur breaks the stillness. Senior samurai, better equipped and of higher status, might have servants to manage their gear. But for you and your peers, the work falls to your own hands, and it must be done before drills begin. Spears, too, must be checked. The yari, a long wooden shaft tipped with a gleaming steel point, is a weapon of simplicity and reach. You run your fingers along its shaft, searching for cracks or splinters that could betray you in battle. The blade is wiped clean, honed with care. Not because anyone expects you to perform feats of heroism, but because an ill-prepared soldier may not survive long enough to regret it. Food comes next. A bowl of thin millet porridge, steaming faintly in the cool morning air, is ladled out. It is plain fare, with little flavor beyond what the salt and grains provide. But it is warm, and it fills the belly for the hours of toil ahead. The barracks creak and shift as men rise to their feet, donning the simple garments worn beneath armor. Loose trousers, a short jacket, often patched and faded from use. As the sun begins to edge higher, the officers arrive. Their voices cut through the murmur, calling the men to readiness. The suits of armor are strapped on piece by piece. Shoulder plates, cuirass, thigh guards. Each layer adds weight and restricts movement. The final element, the jingasa, a broad conical helmet of lacquered wood or metal, is settled atop the head. Now you are ready to present yourself in formation. Outside, the yard is muddy from last night's rain. Rows of men line up, spears held upright, armor gleaming in the morning light. An officer inspects the ranks, his eyes sharp for any sign of neglect. A dull buckle or poorly strapped plate may draw harsh words or, worse, a beating. Among the Ashigaru, discipline is enforced not with respect, but with the ever-present threat of punishment. The drills begin, marching in step across uneven ground, thrusting the spear in unison again and again, until shoulders ache and breath comes hard. Turning swiftly on command, maintaining formation, it is not glorious work. There are no grand speeches, no songs of valor. There is sweat, mud, and the barking of officers. The goal is simple, to turn a mass of peasants and farmers into a disciplined unit that can hold the line when the clash of battle comes. As the hours pass, the sun climbs higher, its heat seeping through the layers of armor. The men tire, feet slipping in the slick earth. Breaks are few and brief. The labor of becoming a soldier leaves little room for comfort, and yet, for many, this is better than what came before. The promise of a steady meal, meager pay, and perhaps a scrap of honor draws men from fields and villages. In this life, at least, there's the chance to rise, to be noticed, to survive. As drills wind down, the soldiers are dismissed to tend once more to their gear. The spears are wiped clean, armor hung to dry. The barracks fill again with the quiet scrape of maintenance, the rhythm of their lives set by the unending cycle of preparation. For the foot soldier, every day begins and ends with labor, with the weight of iron and the hope of enduring another battle yet to come. Evening comes slowly to the camp, the golden light of the sinking sun filtered through the high wooden walls that enclose the training yard. The air begins to cool. The Ashigaru, weary from the day's drills, move quietly through their routines. There is no celebration, no great sense of accomplishment. Only the small satisfaction of having completed another day's expected duties without drawing reprimand. Some men gather near the cook fires, their bodies aching, back sore from hours spent in armor. They share stories in low voices, tales of distant battles, of commanders whose tempers were quick, of comrades lost to disease or misfortune. The stories carry a mixture of humor and grim acceptance, for this is the life they have chosen, or in some cases, been conscripted into. The life of the foot soldier is not one of noble lineage or grand ambition. It is one of endurance. In one corner of the yard, a young Ashigaru oils the shaft of his spear, smoothing out rough patches with practiced care. The blade has been sharpened, its edge gleaming faintly in the dimming light. The spear is both a weapon and a lifeline. In the crush of battle, when swords clash and arrows fly, it is the length of the spear that offers a margin of survival. To let it weaken or splinter is to court death. Others tend to their armor, laying out the plates to dry fully. Dampness invites rust, and rust invites ruin. Even in moments of rest, the soldier's mind remains attuned to the tools of war. Each strap, each buckle, each binding must be checked. In a world where life can be lost in an instant, there's no room for negligence. A simple supper is served. Rice, when supplies allow. Often, a thin soup of vegetables or fish bones. There is little meat. The portions are modest, meant to sustain but not indulge. Around the fires, the mood is subdued. Some men eat in silence. Others murmur quietly. Conversation, when it comes, drifts toward the practical, the condition of weapons, the likelihood of orders for movement, the rumors of which lord or rival clan may soon provoke the next campaign. As darkness settles over the camp, the men begin to prepare for sleep. Bedding is sparse. A simple mat, a thin blanket, perhaps a cloak for added warmth. The barracks are crowded, air growing thick with the scent of sweat and smoke. The floorboards creak beneath shifting bodies. Outside, the sounds of the night emerge. the soft chirp of insects, the distant howl of a wolf, the occasional clink of a guard's armor as he walks the perimeter. Sleep comes slowly. For many, it is uneasy. The mind lingers on what the next day may bring, another round of endless drills. Or worse, orders to march, to leave behind the relative safety of camp for the uncertainty of the field. Some dream of rising, of gaining the notice of a samurai lord, of earning a few extra coins or even a place among the retainers. Others simply hope to return home one day, their bodies whole. In the faint hours before dawn, a bell sounds softly, marking the beginning of another day. The cycle repeats. The barracks stir. Men rise in the dim light, rubbing the sleep from their eyes. Once again, they begin the ritual of polishing armor and carrying spears. The rhythm of their lives, unchanging and relentless, bound by duty and survival. And so, as we leave this first glimpse into the life of an Ashigaru, remember that beneath the famed banners of Japan's warrior lords, beneath the artistry of the sword and the poetry of the code, there stood legions of men like these. Men whose hands were calloused from toil, whose backs bore the weight of iron, whose hopes were humble, and whose lives, more often than not, passed without recognition. Yet their endurance shaped the armies of their time. Their steady feet trod the roads of war. Their spears bristled in the lines that met the enemy. And though history sings little of their names, their labor built the world we remember. Now, let us continue and step into another part of this forgotten life. Chapter 2. Drills in the mud morning comes, pale and damp beneath a heavy sky. The rains of the night have left the ground sodden. Pools of water reflect the gray light. The earth turns soft and clinging. Yet for the Ashigaru, the day begins as always with no allowance for the weather. Outside the barracks, the familiar call to assemble echoes across the yard. Another round of training awaits. You rise and step into the chill air. Beneath your feet, the mud grips at your sandals. Already, your fellow soldiers are gathering, adjusting their armor, securing the straps that hold breastplates and guards in place. The weight of iron, so familiar now, settles on your shoulders once more. In the yard, the officers stand waiting, their voices sharp with command. The mud is ankle-deep in places, sucking at each step. Yet there is no question of postponing the day's work. War, after all, does not wait for dry ground. You and your companions move to your places in the formation, spears in hand, the cold seeping through armor and cloth. The first drill begins with simple movements, marching in unison across the uneven yard. The order is called and the line advances. Feet slosh through the muck, the rhythm of each step fighting against the pull of the wet earth. Balance is tested. More than one soldier stumbles, recovering quickly to avoid the officer's glare. Precision matters. In battle, a broken line invites disaster. Next come the thrusts. The yari is gripped firmly, angled just so. At the shouted command, the entire rank drives their spears forward. The motion must be sharp, controlled, and most of all, consistent. Again and again, the drill is repeated. Arms tire quickly, shoulders burning with the effort. Yet the pace does not slacken. The mud makes footing treacherous, adding strain to each movement. Still, the line must hold. The officers prowl along the ranks, eyes sharp for weakness. A poorly timed thrust, a faltering grip, an uneven stance, all risk harsh correction. Sometimes it is a barked word, other times a blow from the wooden rod many carry. There's little room for sympathy in this place. Discipline is survival. Between drills, brief moments of respite are given. The soldiers stand in place, breathing hard, mud caked along their legs and feet. Some adjust their armor. Others wipe sweat from their brows. The cold of the morning has given way to a clammy heat. The air hangs thick with moisture, heavy with the scent of earth and sweat. Soon the next drill is called, turning maneuvers practiced in slow, deliberate steps. The line pivots on command, shifting direction while maintaining cohesion. Such drills are vital. On the battlefield, chaos reigns. Only through relentless training can a body of foot soldiers hope to respond with unity when the enemy strikes. The mud complicates every movement. The ground yields unpredictably, causing slips and wobbles, yet this too is a lesson. Battlefields are rarely level or dry. One must learn to fight in all conditions, and so the practice continues. Hours pass in a blur of motion, command, and correction. At midday, the men are granted a brief pause. Baskets of food are brought out, simple fare of rice and pickled vegetables. The soldiers eat where they stand or squat along the yard's edge. Armor is not removed. Time is short, and the officers watch to ensure no delay. The mud remains thick, the sky unchanged. Conversation is muted. The men are tired, their bodies heavy with fatigue. Yet beneath it all runs a shared understanding. These drills, this unending toil, shape them. What they endure here may mean the difference between life and death in battle. No one says it aloud, but each man knows. Soon the call to resume sounds again. With a collective sigh, the soldiers return to their places, spears in hand. The next round of drills begins, and the day wears on, the rhythm of their lives measured in sweat and steel. The afternoon stretches on. The air grows warmer, thick with humidity. The clouds press low above the camp, but the rain holds. Underfoot, the mud deepens with each passing hour, churned by dozens of feet. It clings to boots and leggings, weighs down every step. Still, the drills do not cease. You feel the ache in your legs now, a dull, constant throb. Your arms tremble slightly with each thrust of the spear. The repetition, hour upon hour, leaves little room for thought beyond the next command, the next motion. Around you, others show the same weariness, yet the officers remain sharp, eyes flicking from man to man, ready to single out those whose discipline falters. Now the formation breaks into smaller units. Each squad is led through mock maneuvers, simulating the clash of lines. Commands ring out, sharp and insistent. The Ashigaru shift and move, turning through the mud, spears held at the ready. Timing is everything. A hesitation, a stumble, could cost the entire unit dearly in the heat of combat. The practice continues. Pairs of soldiers face off, one acting as attacker, the other as defender. You take your place, spear gripped firmly despite the weariness in your arms. The drill begins. A thrust, a sidestep, a counter, again and again. Muscles burn, breath comes harder, but the rhythm must be maintained. Each movement is honed by countless repetitions until it becomes instinct. In the brief lulls between drills, you steal moments to adjust the straps of your armor. Sweat trickles beneath the iron plates, mixing with the grime of the day. The weight of the gear grows more burdensome as fatigue sets in. Yet no one removes it. The day's training is not yet done. As the sun begins to lower, the officers call for final drills. Now the entire company moves as one. The line advances, spear points glittering despite the mud-smeared shafts. A shouted command. The line halts. Another command, and the spears thrust forward in perfect unison. The motion ripples down the ranks, a wave of steel and determination. Mistakes are corrected swiftly. A man whose stance falters receives a sharp rebuke. There is little tolerance for error. In the press of battle, hesitation can be fatal. Each soldier must act as part of the whole, moving with the flow of the unit. The last drill ends with a final charge. At the officer's signal, the line surges forward through the muck. Voices raise in a ragged shout. Spears lower, feet pound the sodden earth. Though no enemy awaits, the intensity is real. The experience hammers into muscle and mind the relentless drive needed to hold ground or break a foe. At last, the call to dismiss sounds across the yard. The soldiers stand in place, catching their breath, mud-streaked and exhausted. The day's training has left its mark on body and spirit. Yet there is a quiet satisfaction as well. The knowledge that each hour spent in toil has brought them one step closer to readiness. Slowly, the ranks break apart. Men return to the barracks or the washing stations to scrape mud from armor and clothing. The air is filled with the sounds of weary labor. Cloths scrape iron, water splashes into basins. Quiet voices murmur of the day's efforts. As evening falls, the camp settles into a slower rhythm. Supper is a welcome respite. The warmth of rice and broth eases the weariness, if only a little. Around the fires, conversation is subdued. The men speak softly of tomorrow's drills, of rumors from distant fronts, of the hardships yet to come. Later, in the quiet of the barracks, as the lamps gutter low, you lie on your mat, the ache in your limbs, a constant reminder of the day. Yet beneath the fatigue lies a certain peace, the knowledge that in enduring the mud, the drills, and the discipline, you have taken another small step toward survival. As sleep draws near, the rhythm of the Ashigaru life continues. The training will begin again at dawn, as it always does, shaping the common soldier into the steel core of the daimyo's army. Chapter 3. The Battle of Sekigahara now. Let your mind drift further into the past. The year is 1600. The age of warring states nears its end, but the land is still fractured by rival daimyo vying for power. On this morning, beneath the dark and brooding sky, thousands of men gather in the broad valley of Sekigahara. You are among them, an Ashigaru foot soldier, standing shoulder to shoulder with your comrades. The mud beneath your feet is churned by countless boots. The air is thick with the scent of damp earth and oiled steel. For days you have marched to this place, your armor worn and scuffed, your spear roughened by use. Now at last the moment has come. Before you stretches a vast field, ringed by forested hills. Banners of many colors flutter in the misty breeze. The armies of the east and west are arrayed here, each side tens of thousands strong. The fate of Japan hangs in the balance. You grip your spear tightly, its shaft familiar in your calloused hands. Around you, the murmur of voices fades as final orders are given. Officers move swiftly down the lines, their faces set with grim purpose. Above the distant ridge, the horns sound, long and mournful, echoing across the valley. The battle is about to begin. You feel your heart quicken. There is no escape now. The path ahead leads only through the chaos of war. You take a deep breath, steadying yourself. The armor presses heavy on your shoulders, the jingasa helmet warm against your brow. You shift your stance, grounding yourself in the muddy soil. The first sounds of combat reach your ears. Distant cries, the clash of steel on steel, the dull thud of arrows striking shields. The line begins to advance. You move with the others one step at a time, the formation tightening. Ahead, the enemy banners grow clearer. The mist parts, revealing ranks of Ashigaru much like yourselves, their spears bristling, their faces grim. The orders come sharply now. The pace quickens. Your feet splash through shallow pools, mud rising to stain your leggings. The sound of drums builds, a steady rhythm urging the army forward. Then, suddenly, the world erupts in motion. Arrows hiss through the air, a deadly rain falling among the advancing lines. You hear the snap of shafts striking armor, the sharp cries of the wounded, yet there is no pause. The order is shouted again, and the line surges ahead. You brace your spear, its tip angled toward the enemy. In moments, The two lines will meet. The space between shrinks rapidly. The noise is deafening now. A cacophony of voices, steel, and drum beats. Your breath comes fast. Your grip tightens. The enemy is close. You see their faces, eyes wide with fear and resolve. With a final shout, the lines collide. The impact is jarring. Spears thrust and clash. Shields press forward. The mud beneath your feet gives way as bodies surge and struggle. You fight to hold your ground, driving your spear forward, pulling it back, thrusting again. The press of men is overwhelming. There is little room to move, only the instinct to survive. Around you, chaos reigns. Men fall, some crying out, others silent. The line wavers, shifts, then holds. You fight on, your arms aching, sweat mingling with the grime on your skin. The noise is a constant roar. Commands are lost in the din. You rely on your training now, on the rhythm drilled into you during countless hours in the mud. Time becomes a blur. Minutes stretch into eternity. You lose track of the greater battle. Your world narrows to the space around you. To the weight of your spear, the press of bodies, the endless effort to remain standing. The battle rages on. Around you, the line surges and buckles, men pushing forward, falling back, caught in the shifting tide of combat. The ground beneath your feet has turned to a slick mire, soaked with mud and worse. Each step is a struggle. Your spear is now heavier in your hands, its tip dulled from striking armor and shields. Yet there is no pause. Orders come faintly through the din, barely audible over the clash of steel and the cries of the wounded. You glance to your left and right. The faces of your comrades are grim, streaked with sweat and grime. Some bleed from shallow cuts, their armor dented. All press on, driven by necessity and fear. A sudden shout draws your attention. The enemy line before you begins to waver. Men fall back, some stumbling, others turning to run. A surge of energy courses through your ranks. The officers bellow commands, urging the advance. Without thinking, you move forward with the massive bodies, spear raised once more. Now the ground is treacherous, littered with broken weapons, fallen men, and scattered banners. You pick your way through, eye sharp for danger. The enemy is retreating in disarray, but the fight is far from over. Small groups resist fiercely, desperate to hold their ground. Skirmishes erupt amid the chaos, brutal and swift. You engage again, your spear finding its mark. The clash is brief, exhausting. Each thrust demands all your remaining strength. Your breath comes ragged, your muscles burn with fatigue. Yet the momentum of the advance carries you onward. As the enemy line collapses, the battle shifts. Now it is pursuit, pockets of resistance scattered across the field. The officers call for caution, urging the men to maintain formation. Disorder is dangerous, even in victory. But many ignore the commands, driven by the rush of battle. The lines blur as men break ranks, chasing fleeing foes. You press on, wary of ambush. The fog of war is thick. Visibility is poor. Shouts ring out from unseen quarters. The ground rises unevenly, the terrain unfamiliar. Every step is measured, cautious. At last, the sounds of combat begin to fade. The cries grow fewer, the clash of steel less frequent. Word spreads through the ranks. The enemy is broken. Victory is at hand. Yet there is little celebration. The field is a grim sight, strewn with the fallen. The air is heavy with smoke and the acrid tang of spent powder. You stand amid the aftermath, spear lowered. Around you, other Ashigaru gather, their faces etched with weariness. Some tend to wounds, others search for missing comrades. The officers move among them, counting heads, issuing new orders. There is no rest yet. The men are set to work, collecting weapons, securing the field, guarding against possible counterattacks. The dead are left where they fell, their number too great for swift burial. It is a sobering sight, a stark reminder of the cost of war. As the day wanes, the sky darkens. Fires are lit across the camp, their glow flickering in the mist. You sit by one, too tired to speak. The warmth is welcome, the simple act of eating a bowl of rice, a small comfort. Around you, the men are silent, each lost in his own thoughts. The Battle of Sekigahara is over. The great struggle for Japan's future has been decided. But for the Ashigara, there's no grand triumph. No songs will sing of their deeds. Only the knowledge that they have survived, at least for this day. As night settles over the valley, you lie beneath the stars, the ground still damp beneath you. The ache in your body is deep, yet sleep comes swiftly. The rhythm of your life, shaped by war and duty, will begin again with the dawn. Chapter 4. Tending to the horses, the dawn sky is pale and cold. A soft mist lingers over the camp, curling around the wooden stables and drifting among the tents. The air is thick with the mingled scents of damp earth, hay, and the musk of horses. Another day begins, not with the call to arms, but with quieter, steadier labor. Today, your duty is to tend the horses. As an ashigaru, you are often assigned the work that others disdain. While the mounted samurai command glory on the battlefield, their steeds require constant care. It falls to you and others of your rank to provide it. You rise early, before the first light fully breaks, and make your way to the stables. The horses stir as you enter, their breath clouds in the chill morning air. You greet them softly, your voice calm and steady. They are powerful creatures, bred for strength and endurance, yet they can be skittish in strange hands. It is important to move slowly to show respect. First comes the feeding. You haul heavy bundles of hay, your arms straining with the effort. Each stall must be stocked. You check the water troughs, replenishing them where needed. The horses watch you as they eat, ears flicking, tails swishing idly. Next is the grooming. You retrieve a stiff brush, its bristles worn from use. Moving from one stall to the next, you work methodically, brushing away the dust and sweat from each horse's coat. The task is soothing in its rhythm. Long strokes down the neck, across the flanks, along the powerful legs. The horses relax beneath your touch, their muscles softening. Yet the work is not without challenge. Some horses are restless, stamping or tossing their heads. You must be patient, your movements steady. A sudden noise, an unfamiliar scent, can startle even the most seasoned steed. Injury to horse or handler is always a risk. You inspect each animal carefully. Look for signs of illness, for cuts or swelling. The health of these horses is vital to the strength of the army. A lame steed can cost a samurai his place in battle. You note a slight limp in one animal. Report it quietly to the stable master. As the morning wears on, the sun begins to warm the air. The mist thins, revealing the full sprawl of the camp. Horses are led out to exercise, their hooves thudding softly on the packed earth. You walk with them, guiding them in slow circles, allowing their muscles to loosen after long days confined to stalls. The mounted samurai arrive now, inspecting their mounts, adjusting saddles and tack. You step back, deferential. Though your labor has prepared the horses, the samurai command them now. Their armor gleams in the sunlight, their manner confident. You remain in the background, ready to assist, to lift a saddle, to tighten a strap, to fetch what is needed. The midday sun climbs high, sweat beads on your brow. The labor continues. Manure must be cleared, stalls cleaned, fresh bedding laid down. The work is unending, yet essential. Without it, the horses would suffer, and with them, the strength of the army. There is little conversation among the workers. Each is absorbed in the task at hand. The rhythm of brushing, feeding, cleaning fills the hours. Time slips by, marked only by the changing light and the calls of the officers beyond the stable yard. As afternoon settles over the camp, the work shifts in pace but does not cease. The horses are exercised again, some taken beyond the stables to the practice field. You help lead them, steadying the reins, walking at their side. The earth here is drier, the footing firm. The horses move with greater energy now, their hooves kicking up small clouds of dust. You watch their movements closely, noting any signs of stiffness or fatigue. Some of the older horses require special care. You fetch liniments from the supply shed, massaging the ointment gently into tired legs. The scent of the herbs mingles with the ever-present smell of leather and sweat. Your hands ache from the repetitive work, yet you continue. A well-tended horse may carry its rider through many battles. A neglected one may falter at a crucial moment. Later in the day, armor and tack must be cleaned. The leather straps of the saddles are stiff from use, the metal fittings dulled by dirt and sweat. You work with a damp cloth and a small pot of oil, restoring suppleness to the leather, a gleam to the metal. The task demands care. A frayed strap or loose buckle could mean disaster on the field. As you clean, your thoughts drift. You recall past marshes, long gaze on the road where the horses bore their riders tirelessly across mountains and rivers. You think too of the battlefield, of the chaos when horses and riders alike plunged into the fray, hooves churning the earth, blades flashing. The bond between warrior and steed is one forged through trust and necessity. You feel a quiet satisfaction knowing that your unseen labor helps maintain that bond. Toward evening, the stable yard quiets. The samurai have returned their mounts, now resting after their drills. You move through the rows of stalls once more, checking each horse, ensuring they are calm and fed. Some nuzzle your hand as you pass, recognizing your presence. You speak softly to them, a murmur of reassurance. In the fading light, you rake the last of the straw, scrub out the water troughs. The day's labor leaves you weary, shoulders and back sore from constant effort. Yet as you close the stable gates, there's a sense of purpose in the work completed. Though you are a lowly foot soldier, often overlooked, your hands have shaped the readiness of these powerful creatures, these living engines of war. You return to the barracks as the sun dips below the horizon. The camp is alive with the sounds of cooking fires, the soft murmur of men at rest. You eat your simple supper quietly, fatigue dulling your appetite. Around you, others speak of coming campaigns, of rumors from distant provinces. You listen, but your mind is heavy with the weariness of the day. Later, as you lie on your mat beneath the low beams of the barracks, the scent of hay still clinging to your clothes, you reflect on the rhythm of this life. The tending of horses is not glamorous. It earns no honors, no songs, yet it is vital. Without strong steeds, the samurai would falter. Without your labor, the army would weaken. The thought brings a quiet contentment as sleep steals over you. Another day will come, and with it more work, more care, more of the steady, unseen toil that holds the great war machine together. And so, as you drift into rest, the rhythm of the Ashigaru life continues. Chapter 5. Marching on empty stomachs, the orders have come at last. The army is to move. Word spreads swiftly through the camp, stirring a mix of resignation and readiness among the soldiers. For the Ashigaru, marching is as much a part of life as the spear and the drill. You rise before dawn once again, packing your few possessions with practiced efficiency. The morning is damp and cool. A thin fog clings to the ground as you gather in formation. The officers move among the ranks, shouting final instructions. Armor is checked, supplies counted. The packs are heavy on your shoulders, filled with what little food remains, spare clothing, and the basic tools of survival. Your stomach is near empty. The rations have been stretched thin in recent days. A small ball of rice, a strip of dried fish, if fortune allows. It is not enough, but there is no choice. The road ahead is long. The supply is uncertain. Hunger is a constant companion now, its dull ache gnawing at the edges of your awareness. At the officer's signal, the march begins. The line of soldiers snakes out of the camp, boots squelching in the damp earth. The pace is steady, unhurried, designed to cover ground without exhausting the men. Yet even so, the weight of armor and pack soon makes itself felt. The path winds through rolling hills, across narrow wooden bridges, along ancient roads pitted with years of wear. The countryside is quiet, the village is deserted or subdued. War has left its mark here. Fields lie fallow, homes stand empty. The rhythm of your steps is the only constant, the steady crunch of boots on gravel and dirt. As the hours pass, fatigue sets in. Shoulders ache beneath the straps of your pack. Legs grow heavy with each step. The hunger sharpens now, no longer a dull background presence, but a sharper need. Yet the column does not stop. There's ground to cover before nightfall, a distance set by the commanders. You glance at your comrades. Their faces are drawn, eyes focused ahead. Some mutter softly, others march in silence. The officers ride alongside on horseback, their commands brief and curt. There is no sympathy for those who falter. To fall behind is to invite punishment or worse. By midday, the sun breaks through the clouds, its warmth adding to the strain. Sweat beads on your brow. Trickles beneath your armor. The pack feels heavier with each mile. The landscape offers little shade, only the occasional copse of trees or low stone wall. There are no grand meals on the march. At brief halts, you nibble what little remains of your rations. A scrap of rice, a sip of water from a shared skin. The hunger is never sated, only delayed. You tighten your belt, grit your teeth, and press on. The officers urge the column forward. News of enemy movements or the need to secure a key position drives the pace. The road grows rougher now, climbing into higher ground. The air cools, but the effort increases. Each step is a test of will. Chapter 6. Patrolling Bandit Roads. The great battles may earn the songs of poets and the praise of lords. But for many Ashigaru, the duties between those grand clashes are no less demanding. Today, you and a small unit are tasked with patrolling a stretch of road through the low, wooded hills. Banditry has risen in recent months. With the daimyo's forces drawn elsewhere, the roads that feed the army and the provinces have grown perilous. And so you march again, not in the ranks of a great host, but as part of a lean, watchful patrol. The morning is cool and damp. A faint mist clings to the undergrowth, muffling sound and obscuring distance. You adjust your armor, feeling its familiar weight settle over your shoulders. The officers speak quietly, issuing final instructions. Your unit is small, a mix of veterans and newer recruits, armed with spears, short swords, and a few battered bows. The road you are to guard is narrow, little more than a cart path winding between thickets and stone outcroppings. It is a vital link between the market towns and the main supply routes. If bandits block it, or worse, ambush the traders who dare travel it, the army's strength will suffer. The task is simple in word, but treacherous in practice. The forest offers many places to hide, many dangers unseen. You set out at a cautious pace, boots quiet on the soft earth. The column stretches along the winding track, each man alert. Eyes scan the shadows beneath the trees. Ears strain for sounds beyond the chirp of birds or the rustle of leaves. The rhythm of your steps is careful now, measured, broken only when the officers call a halt to observe some likely ambush point. The sun climbs slowly, filtering through the canopy. The road passes through abandoned farms, their fields gone to weeds. In one place, a burnt-out cottage leans against the hillside, blackened timbers a silent witness to past violence. The site serves as a warning. Bandits often strike where law and order have withered. The patrol moves on. At a narrow bend where the trees press close, the officers signal a halt. You step aside, crouching low in the undergrowth. The men fan out, eyes sharp, weapons ready. The moments stretch, tense, and nothing stirs beyond the wind. At length, the order is given to move forward. As the day wears on, the road descends into a shallow valley where a small stream crosses the path. The water runs clear over smooth stones. Here, the officers call a brief rest. You kneel by the stream, drinking cautiously, refilling your water skin. The cold water refreshes, if only briefly. Hunger stirs again, but rations are scarce. A small handful of rice or a strip of dried root must suffice. The air is heavier here, the forest closed and shadowed. Conversation is kept low, wary. Tales of ambushes and disappearances are never far from the minds of the soldiers. Bandits in these parts are no mere peasants driven by hunger. Many are former soldiers, ronin without masters, skilled and desperate. The patrol resumes. The pace quickens as the officers seek to clear this dangerous stretch before nightfall. The road grows rougher, broken by roots and fallen branches. You step carefully, spear held ready, eyes flicking from shadow to shadow. The tension in the ranks is palpable. The road winds ever upward, narrowing between steep slopes and dense forest. The line of soldiers stretches thin, each man focused on placing one foot ahead of the other. The hunger grows sharper with each passing hour. Your stomach cramps faintly now, the small ration long burned away by exertion. Yet there's no respite. The officers drive the column onward, knowing that delay can bring disaster. The air is thinner here, cooler. Breath comes harder, muscles ache with the strain of the climb. The path becomes little more than a worn track, broken by roots and loose stones. Each step must be taken with care, the burden of armor and pack making balance treacherous. A stumble could send a man tumbling down the slope. From time to time, a soldier falters, dropping to one knee, breath ragged. The officers are swift to react. A sharp command, a blow with the flat of a sword, or the threat of greater punishment forces the man back to his feet. There is little compassion here. In war, the weak are left behind. The hours drag on. The sun dips lower, shadows lengthen across the path. Hunger gnaws deeper, an insistent ache that dulls the mind. Some men murmur softly, words of encouragement or grim humor. Others retreat into silence, conserving what little strength remains. At last, as dusk approaches, the column reaches a clearing. The order is given to halt. The relief is palpable, though no one cheers. The men sink to the ground where they stand, too wearied to care about the mud or stones beneath them. Packs are dropped, armor loosened. Breath comes in shallow gasps. There is little food to be had. The remaining rations are meager, divided carefully. You unwrap a small ball of rice, hardened from the march, and chew slowly, savoring what little flavor remains. Water is rationed as well, each sip precious. The hunger is not satisfied, only dulled for a time. The camp is crude, a temporary refuge. Fires are lit where wood can be found, though many go without. The cold seeps in as the sun sets fully, the warmth of the day quickly lost in the thin mountain air. You pull your cloak tighter, huddling against the chill. Conversation is sparse. The men are too tired, too hungry for idle talk. Some tend to sore feet. Others doze where they sit. The officers remain alert, conferring quietly, planning the next day's march. The orders will come soon enough, another dawn spent on the road. As night falls, you lie beneath the open sky. The stars faint through the drifting clouds. The ground is hard, the cold biting, but sleep comes quickly to the exhausted. Your dreams are fitful, filled with images of food, of warmth, of a life far from the road. Morning will bring another day of marching. The rhythm of the Ashigaru life continues, bound by duty and the constant struggle to endure. In this world, the strength to march on an empty stomach is as vital as the strength to wield a spear. The patrol presses deeper into the wooded hills, the late afternoon light slanting through the trees. The shadows lengthen, growing thicker beneath the dense canopy. Every sound draws your attention, now a snapping twig, the flutter of a bird's wings, the distant rustle of leaves. Each might be harmless or a sign of danger lurking just beyond sight. The officers order frequent halts. The men crouch low, weapons ready, scanning the woods. In these moments of tense silence, you feel the weight of the day's fatigue in your limbs, the ache of hunger in your belly. But there's no time for rest. The bandits here know the terrain well, striking swiftly from ambush and fading into the forest. The patrol must remain alert at all times. The road dips into a narrow ravine, its steep sides thick with brush. Visibility is poor. The officers gesture sharply, signaling caution. The column tightens, spears lowered, archers moving to the flanks. You grip your weapon tightly, pulse quickening. This is the kind of place where many patrols have met disaster. The minutes stretch, each step deliberate, slow. The air is heavy with tension, yet nothing stirs. The ravine is passed in wary silence. The officers give a quiet command. The pace resumes. A sense of relief spreads through the ranks, though no one dares speak it aloud. The sun nears the horizon. The forest grows darker. The officers consult quietly, deciding to make camp at the next clearing. Marching through these woods by night would be folly. You scan the trees with growing weariness, eager for even a cold meal and a patch of earth to rest upon. At last, a small rise offers a suitable spot. The patrol circles in, establishing a rough perimeter. Fires are forbidden. Smoke would draw unwanted attention. You unroll your cloak, sit on the damp ground. The simple act of removing your helmet brings a wave of relief. The rations are meager, hardly enough to blunt the hunger. Still, you eat what you have, savoring each bite in the cool, dimming light. Around you, the other soldiers move quietly, checking weapons, securing packs. Conversation is sparse. Each man is lost in his own thoughts. Night falls swiftly beneath the trees. The watch is divided into shifts. You draw first watch, rising again, spear in hand. The darkness presses close. The usual sounds of the forest crickets, the distant hoot of an owl seem sharper, more vivid. Every flicker of movement in the shadows draws your eye. The hours pass slowly. You pace the edge of the clearing, ears straining, eyes scanning the gloom. The mind plays tricks in the dark, but discipline holds you steady. It is not fear that keeps you alert, but the simple knowledge that vigilance is the line between life and death here. At last your shift ends. You wake your relief, settle onto your cloak. Sleep is restless, shallow, broken by every distant noise. The rhythm of the Ashigaru life continues, shaped not only by battle and drill, but by long nights spent guarding against unseen threats. Dawn will bring another day of patrol. The road must be kept clear, the bandits held at bay. For the foot soldiers of the daimyo, there is no rest from this unseen war. Only the steady grinding labor of maintaining order in a land still scarred by conflict. Chapter 7. Building siege engines. The orders come early, before the sun has fully risen. A new campaign is underway. This time, your unit has been assigned not to the vanguard, nor to the patrolling of roads, but to the labor battalion tasked with preparing siege equipment. Word has spread quickly. The daimyo's forces march on a fortified castle deep in enemy territory. Before the army can hope to breach its walls, siege engines must be constructed, and the ground prepared for an assault. You rise with the others, gathering tools instead of weapons. Axes, hammers, saws, lengths of rope. Your spear is still close at hand, but today it will remain idle. The air is crisp and cool, heavy with the promise of a long, grueling day. Hunger stirs again. Breakfast is no more than a few mouthfuls of rice, but there is no time to linger. The officers bark orders, driving the men into motion. The site for the siege camp is already chosen, a broad plain within sight of the distant castle walls. You march there in formation, the rhythmic tramp of boots muffled by the dew-soaked grass. As you crest a low rise, the target comes into view, a towering fortress of stone and timber, its banners snapping in the morning breeze. Already, sentries on the walls are watching, noting the movements of your forces. There's much to be done. The officers divide the labor quickly. Some men are sent to fell trees in the nearby woods. Others begin clearing ground, removing brush and filling low spots with earth. You are assigned to one of the work gangs tasked with assembling the great wooden frames that will become battering rams and siege towers. The tools are crude, the wood heavy. You and your comrades labor side by side, lifting beams, driving iron spikes, lashing supports with thick cords. The work is hard, sweat rising quickly beneath your armor. Muscles strain, hands blister. Yet there is little rest. Time is short. The daimyo wishes to begin the assault before the defenders can strengthen their position. The sun climbs higher, baking the clearing. Dust rises from the earth, mixing with the sawdust and wood shavings. The air hums with the sound of axes biting into timber, the ring of hammers striking iron. Orders ring out constantly. Officers moving among the laborers to keep the work moving at pace. You wipe sweat from your brow, shoulders aching from the weight of the beams. Yet there's a strange satisfaction in the rhythm of the labor. Each strike of the hammer, each heave of the rope, brings the great machines closer to completion. These siege engines, once assembled, will shape the fate of the coming battle. Midday brings only a brief pause. You sit on a rough log, chewing a scrap of dried fish, sipping water. The hunger gnaws deeper, the meager rations barely enough to sustain the effort. But there is no complaint. All know that the quicker the work is done, the sooner the siege may begin, and perhaps the sooner this campaign will end. Soon you are back at work, lifting, hauling, fitting beams together with care. The framework of a siege tower takes shape, rising slowly above the plain. Its sides will be clad in heavy planks, its interior fitted with ladders and firing platforms. When the time comes, it will be rolled toward the castle, a moving wall of timber shielding the assault. The afternoon wears on, the sun slanting lower. Fatigue weighs on every movement now. Blisters sting, muscles tremble, yet still the work continues, driven by duty and the watchful eyes of the officers. You glance toward the distant walls, where enemy archers can be seen moving along the battlements. Their arrows may soon fly. For now, though, they hold their fire, content to watch the labor unfold. As the sun begins to sink below the horizon, the air cools slightly, offering a brief respite from the day's heat. The siege engines have taken more form, their skeletal frames rising across the plain like strange wooden beasts. The officers press the work forward, urging the men to complete as much as possible before nightfall. You haul another length of timber into place, shoulders burning with effort. Nearby, other teams hammer iron plates into position, reinforcing the battering ram. The rhythmic clang of metal echoes across the camp. The sounds of saws, axes, and shouted orders blend into the steady drone of labor. Fatigue settles deeper into your bones. Each motion grows heavier, slower. Your hands are raw from handling rough wood and thick rope. Blisters have burst, leaving skin raw beneath your gloves. Still, you work on, driven not by enthusiasm, but by necessity and discipline. The officers tolerate no idleness. Those who falter too soon may find themselves assigned extra watches at night or worse. The light fades quickly. Torches are lit, casting long, flickering shadows over the growing machines. The men move more carefully now, the dim light making every task more difficult, yet the urgency remains. The daimyo's intent is clear. The siege must be ready to begin in earnest within days. Every moment counts. Finally, the command to halt for the night is given. Tools are laid aside, the day's labors drawing to a close. You sink to the ground, too weary to stand. Sweat cools on your skin, the chill of evening settling into your muscles. Around you, the other Ashigaru move slowly, their faces drawn with exhaustion. The evening meal is a meager one, as always. A small portion of rice, a thin broth. You eat in silence, the ache in your body dampening any conversation. The fires burn low, their smoke drifting into the darkening sky. Later, you lie beneath the stars, wrapped in your cloak. The sounds of the camp drift around you, soft murmurs, the occasional cough, the rustle of men settling to sleep. From the distant castle walls comes no sound, yet you know the defenders are watching, preparing their own defenses. Sleep comes fitfully. The ache of the day's labor lingers in every limb. In your dreams, the siege engines ride looming vast and dark. You see yourself climbing their ladders, charging toward the enemy walls, the clash of battle yet to come. At dawn, the cycle will begin anew. The siege engines must be completed, the assault prepared. For the Ashigaru, there's no rest from toil. Whether building, marching, or fighting, the rhythm of your life continues, shaped by the demands of war and the will of your lords. The days continue much the same, the rhythms of garrison duty providing moments of stillness between campaigns. Each morning brings you once more to the narrow streets of the castle town, where merchants call softly and craftsmen ply their trades. But it is always the smithies that draw your attention. The faint tang of burning charcoal in the air leads you unwittingly to the forges, where the master swordsmiths continue their patient, tireless work. Now the blades begin to take shape. The rough forms hammered from raw iron are transformed, their edges honed with infinite care. Files and whetstones are used in long, slow passes, the smith's hands steady and sure. You watch as each stroke brings the steel closer to perfection, its surface beginning to shine beneath the steady pressure. It is a lesson in patience, a reminder that mastery is built not in haste, but through endless repetition. You hear the apprentices speak in hushed tones of the coming moment of quenching. The blade will soon be coated with a special clay mixture, applied in thin, careful layers along its length. This layer controls how the blade cools, shaping its eventual strength and flexibility. The thicker clay along the spine will slow the cooling, leaving the metal softer and more resilient, while the edge cools quickly, hardening to a razor's keenness. At last, the day comes. The forge blazes once more, the heat palpable even at a distance. The blade is heated to a glowing orange-white, then lifted carefully from the coals. The master carries it to the quenching trough, his movements slow, deliberate. The room grows still. Even you, standing at your post near the door, feel the tension in the air. With practiced grace, the smith lowers the blade into the cool water. Steam bursts upward in a hissing cloud, filling the forge with a dense mist. The metal sizzles and groans, the quenching transforming its inner structure in an instant. It is a moment of risk and reward. If the steel cracks, all is lost. If the tempering succeeds, a blade of rare strength is born. You watch intently as the steam clears. The blade is lifted, its surface dulled now by the rapid cooling. The master examines it closely, eyes narrowing. Then he nods, satisfied. The first great trial is past. The blade will now rest, its inner tensions carefully balanced before the next stages begin. Polishing will take many days. A separate artisan, skilled in the art of refinement, will handle this delicate task. You glimpse one such man at work, his whetstones worn smooth by countless hours. His fingers glide along the blade with care, coaxing out the subtle patterns of the folded steel, the elegant curve shaped by the quenching. Layer upon layer of metal, once hidden, now gleams beneath the craftsman's touch. You marvel at the transformation. What was once a dull iron bar has become a weapon of elegance and power. Forged through fire, tempered by water, shaped by the patient hands of masters. Though it may rest at a samurai's side, a symbol of their station, it was born through the toil of craftsmen not so different from yourself, men who work with discipline and pride, unseen by history. As you shoulder your spear and return to your post, the memory of the forge lingers. You may not wield such a blade, nor claim its honor, but you understand it now. In battle, should your path cross with a sword drawn from such a forge, you will face it with respect, knowing the countless hours and quiet skill that gave it life. And so the rhythm of your days continues, marked by the steady heartbeat of the forge and the ever-turning wheel of war. Another lesson in the life of an Ashigaru, another glimpse into the hidden labors that shaped the world of the warrior class. Chapter 9. Sleeping in the dirt, the rhythms of campaign life are never kind. As an Ashigaru, you soon grow used to long march and sudden orders, to hunger and cold, to the steady wear of duty. But among the many hardships that shape your days, few are as constant or as humbling as the simple matter of sleep. For in the field, when the army is on the move, there are no fine quarters for men like you, no thick mats or wooden floors. Often, not even a proper tent. More often than not, you sleep beneath the open sky, wrapped in a thin cloak, your body pressed against the cold, uneven earth. The order is to halt, come late in the day. After hours of marching along narrow roads and forest tracks, the column slows, then stops in a broad clearing. The officers move swiftly to organize the camp. Perimeters are established, watches assigned. Fires may be lit if the enemy is not near, but often they are forbidden, lest their glow betray your position. You set down your pack, rolling out your worn cloak. The ground is hard beneath your feet, a patchwork of stones, roots, and damp soil. There's no comfort to be found here. You clear what debris you can, using your spear haft to shift larger rocks. It is a small gesture, more habit than hope. The evening meal is brief, meager. A scrap of rice, a sip of thin broth, perhaps a piece of dried radish, if supplies allow. It fills your stomach only faintly, leaving hunger as a familiar companion through the night. You eat quickly, knowing that darkness will fall soon. As the last light fades from the sky, you settle down upon the earth. The chill of the ground seeps into your bones, a slow, insistent cold. You pull your cloak tighter, tucking it around your legs, but it does little to ward off the damp. The armor you wear by day offers no comfort now. It is set aside close at hand, ready for sudden need. Around you, the camp quiets. The low murmur of voices fades. Men shift restlessly on their makeshift beds, seeking some small measure of warmth. The sounds of the forest return. The chirp of insects, the distant cry of an owl, the rustle of leaves in the wind. Sleep does not come easily. The ground is unforgiving. Your body aches from the day's labor. Yet exhaustion draws you down, pulling you toward restless slumber. Dreams come fitfully, broken by cold and the sharp jab of a stone beneath your shoulder. You wake often, shifting, curling tighter against the chill. Through the night, the sentries move among the sleeping men. Their footsteps crunch softly upon the earth. From time to time, you hear the low whisper of a challenge and reply, the quiet routines of watchfulness, maintained even in darkness. The stars wheel overhead. Hours pass slowly. You lose track of time, caught in a cycle of shallow sleep and brief waking. When dawn begins to pale the eastern sky, you rise stiffly, joints aching, limbs cold. The day begins anew, the rhythm of your life shaped once more by the demands of war. There's no complaint. Such is the lot of the Ashigaru. To sleep in the dirt, to rise weary and cold, is part of the path you walk. And when the call to march sounds again, you shoulder your pack and spear, ready to endure another day. As the march continues from day to day, you come to understand that sleep, like food, is a fleeting luxury. Sometimes the order to halt comes late into the night, after an exhausting forced march, when every muscle burns and even your spear feels heavy in your grasp. There are times when no camp is made at all, only a brief rest along the roadside. You sit with your back against a tree or a low embankment, cloak pulled tight around your shoulders, sleep claimed in short, broken intervals. There are other nights when storms lash the land. The rain falls in sheets, soaking everything in its path. There is no shelter for men of your rank. You crouch beneath your cloak, cold water trickling down your back, the earth beneath you turning to mud. Sleep comes rarely on such nights, your body trembling with cold, your spirit weighed down by fatigue. Yet there are moments of quiet comfort too, rare but welcome. A clear night beneath a sky strewn with stars, a dry patch of grass upon which to lie. The soft chorus of frogs and insects blending into a gentle lullaby. On such nights, you can almost forget the hardship, if only for a while. The men around you develop small habits to ease the burden. A folded cloth beneath the head, a favored spot near the fire pit when fires are permitted. You learn to wrap your cloak just so, to guard against the worst of the cold. You share stories in hushed tones before settling to sleep, brief moments of camaraderie that lighten the weariness. But always the earth waits beneath you, hard and unyielding. Each morning brings stiff limbs, sore shoulders, the ache of another night spent in the dirt. The older soldiers show the marks of this life-knotted muscles, weathered skin, joints that creak with every movement. Yet you adapt, as all Ashigaru must. Your body grows accustomed to the hardships. Your mind learns to seek rest where it can be found. And when sleep comes, even for an hour, it is deep and heavy, drawing you down into a world where hunger and cold cannot reach. In time, the rhythm becomes familiar. The march, the halt, the meal, the night upon the ground. The life of the foot soldier is one of endurance, shaped as much by these small trials as by the great battles sung in the histories. And so, with each dawn you rise again, cloak damp with dew, body stiff but spirit unbroken. You shoulder your pack, take up your spear, and step once more onto the road. The rhythm of the Ashigaru life continues, steady and unyielding, through the long days and the long nights spent sleeping in the dirt. Chapter 10. Supper at a daimyo's fortress. Not every moment of an Ashigaru's life is spent on the march or in the mud of distant fields. There are times when your unit is called back to the great fortresses of your lord, to garrison the strongholds that anchor the daimyo's power. It is during such times that you catch glimpses of a life far removed from your own, a life of stone walls and lacquered halls, of silks and banners, of rank and ceremony. Tonight, word has spread through the barracks. The daimyo will host a supper for his commanders. Extra guards are to be posted, and a small number of trusted ashigaru, yourself among them, are assigned to serve and to stand watch near the great hall. You prepare carefully, cleaning your armor, brushing the dust from your cloak. Appearance matters in the fortress, where the eyes of your betters weigh heavily upon you. The fortress itself is a marvel, rising above the plain on its high stone foundations. You enter through the wide gates, passing beneath massive wooden beams and through courtyards alive with the flicker of torchlight. The air is cool, touched with the scent of cedar and rice wine. The stone beneath your feet is worn smooth by the passage of countless soldiers and lords before you. Within the inner ward, the mood is different from the weary camaraderie of the camp. Here, every movement is watched, every word measured. The samurai stride through the corridors with quiet authority, their blades gleaming at their sides. Servants move swiftly, heads bowed, their arms laden with trays and banners. You take your place near the hall, standing at attention. The wide doors are flanked by carved panels, their surfaces depicting scenes of battles long past. The light within spills out in warm gold, the sounds of laughter and conversation rising and falling. You glimpse the gathering, senior samurai, retainers, a few honored guests, all seated upon fine mats, their robes rich with embroidery. The supper itself is a display of wealth and culture. Dishes of grilled fish, delicately cut vegetables, bowls of steaming rice. Sake flows freely, poured into fine ceramic cups. The air is thick with the mingled scents of roasted meats and fragrant herbs. You can only observe your place firmly outside the circle of privilege. From time to time, servants approach with trays, offering food and drink. You do not partake. The ashigaru on duty eat separately, when and if permitted. Yet you watch with interest, noting the elaborate customs, the subtle gestures of respect and rank that shape the flow of the evening. The daimyo himself presides at the head of the hall, a figure of composed authority. His words carry weight, his manner calm yet commanding. To serve such a lord is both a burden and an honor. You feel the eyes of the senior retainers pass over you from time to time, assessing, judging. There is little room for error here. Outside the hall, in a small side room, a simpler meal awaits the ashigaru on duty. When your watch permits, you slip away briefly to partake. A bowl of rice, a few pickled vegetables, perhaps a slice of salted fish. It is plain fare, but warm and welcome after long hours on your feet. Returning to your post, you resume your silent vigil. The supper winds on, the voices within growing louder with drink and merriment. Yet beneath the surface lies the ever-present tension of court life, the careful dance of alliances, the rivalries concealed behind polite smiles. The night deepens, shadows lengthening along the high timber-bird ceilings of the fortress. Within the great hall, the supper continues at a more languid pace. The voices of the daimyo's inner circle grow softer now, their conversations drifting between matters of governance and more personal tales. The scent of incense wafts gently through the air, mingling with the lingering aroma of sake and roasted meats. You remain at your post near the doorway, spear in hand, your gaze steady. The duties of an ashigaru in this setting are as much about appearance as practicality. Discipline must be evident in every stance, readiness in every movement. There is little chance of danger here within the heart of your lord's domain, yet vigilance is expected at all times. From your position, you observe the slow choreography of the evening. Courtiers lean close to one another, exchanging quiet words. Samurai of higher standing gesture subtly as they speak, their fingers tracing the polished wood of their sake cups. The daimyo's voice rises now and then, calm and measured, his words met with respectful nods or quiet laughter. Servants continue to move with practiced grace, replenishing dishes, pouring fresh cups. Their faces reveal nothing, their steps soundless upon the mats. It is a world of careful balance, where status is marked in every glance and gesture. As an Ashigaru, you are very much on the outside, allowed only this distant view of a life that will never be yours. Hours pass. The warm glow of the lamps softens, casting long shadows across the hall. The supper begins to draw to a close. One by one, the guests take their leave, bowing deeply to the daimyo before stepping back into the cool night air. You remain steady, watching as the room gradually empties. At last, only the senior retainers and the daimyo himself remain. They speak quietly now, their words for trusted ears alone. You sense that your duties for the evening are nearly at an end, yet you do not relax. Composure must be maintained until formally dismissed. When the final guests withdraw, the daimyo rises, his attendants moving swiftly to his side. The great hall empties further. You receive the nod from your commanding officer, signaling the close of your watch. Only then do you lower your spear, stepping back with controlled precision. Outside, the fortress grounds are quiet. The cool night air brings a welcome relief after the warmth of the hall. You walk with your comrades back toward the barracks, footsteps soft upon the worn stones. The contrast between the opulence of the daimyo's table and your own humble life is stark, yet it stirs no bitterness. This is the order of the world. To serve, to endure, to survive, that is the path of the Ashigaru. In the barracks, a few embers still glow in the hearth. You eat a simple late meal, if any remains, then settle onto your mat. The stone floors of the fortress offer little more comfort than the earth. But tonight, after a long watch, sleep comes swiftly, and so another duty passes. Another glimpse into the world of your betters. Another reminder of the distance between those who serve them. Yet as you drift towards sleep, there is a quiet pride in having performed your task well. The rhythm of your life continues, marked by discipline, endurance, and the steady march of days within the daimyo's service.
Chapter 11. Harsh justice and cruel discipline in the life of an Ashigaru. Discipline is not merely a virtue, it is survival. The world of the military camp, the garrison, the road, is one of strict order, enforced with little tolerance for failure. For those who serve at the lowest ranks, punishment is ever near. A constant reminder of one's place in the rigid hierarchy of the daimyo's army. The rules are many and unyielding. A blade must be kept sharp and free of rust. Armor must be maintained, weapons carried in proper fashion. Soldier must rise at the call, fall in with precision, obey every command without hesitation. And beyond these, countless minor expectations shape each day, how one speaks to a superior, how one conducts oneself on and off duty, how one guards against any hint of dishonor. On this day, the officers inspect the camp. Sun is still low, mist clinging to the tents and wooden barracks. You and your comrades stand in formation, spears at your sides, awaiting the gaze of the commander. His eyes are sharp, missing nothing. Loose strap, a dull blade, a stain upon armor any, could draw a reprimand. Worse. Should one's failings reflect poorly on the unit, punishment may be shared. Nearby, you hear the crack of a bamboo rod striking flesh. A younger soldier, too slow to rise, too slovenly in appearance, is forced to kneel as the officer delivers his sentence. The blows are swift, meant to sting and shame rather than maim. The youth winces, but does not cry out. To do so would bring greater disgrace. This is but the mildest form of discipline. In harsher moments, for greater offenses, the punishments grow severe. For falling asleep on watch, for striking a superior, for theft within the ranks. The consequences can include public beating, forced labor, or expulsion from the army shamed. Penniless, and without protection. The worst offenses bring death. You have seen it more than once. A soldier caught deserting or spreading dissent, dragged before the assembled ranks to hear his sentence. Bound and kneeling, his fate delivered swiftly, often beneath the blade of the commander's own sword. Such moments leave the camp silent, each man reminded of the thin line between discipline and doom. Even small errors bring consequences. A missed cue in the line of march, a failed report of a changing situation, a disrespectful glance. The officers, many of samurai birth, hold their rank with pride, guarding it jealously. Their word is law. Appeals are rare and dangerous. For an Ashigaru, it is far safer to obey, to endure, to keep one's head low. And so you learn. Through trial and bruises, through long hours of drill and the steady gaze of your betters, you absorb the unspoken truth of the camp. Discipline is not about fairness, nor even justice. It is about control. The army must move as one, strike as one. Disorder invites ruin. The punishments that fall upon the backs of the common soldiers are the price of that order. Yet among the men, a quiet camaraderie forms in the face of this harshness. You share small kindness as a word of warning, a helping hand with a strap or blade. You watch out for one another when the officers' tempers flare. In such moments, bonds are forged stronger than iron, born of shared hardship. And still, each day begins anew, beneath the ever-watchful eyes of authority. The rhythm of life in the daimyo's service continues, marked by duty, endurance, and the ever-present shadow of harsh justice and cruel discipline.
As the weeks stretch on, you come to know the subtleties of this rigid world. Discipline is a language of its own, spoken in gestures, in silences, in careful obedience. You learn to keep your gaze low when addressed by a superior, to bow precisely, not too deep, not too shallow, to anticipate the small preferences of your officers. These are the unspoken arts of survival, as necessary as skill with spear or bow. Rumors often drift through the ranks, stories of those who failed to navigate these treacherous waters. A soldier flogged for speaking out of turn, another stripped of rank for disrespecting a visiting lord. Whispers of more severe fates, of men sent on hopeless missions, or ordered to take their own lives to atone for dishonor. Whether all such tales are true matters little. They shape behavior as surely as the officer's commands. In the barracks at night, the men speak of these things in low voices, not from fear alone, but from an understanding born of hard experience. Discipline, for all its harshness, binds the army together. Without it, the daimyo's forces would collapse into chaos. Yet it is a fragile bond, one that can turn cruel or unjust at any moment. There are those among the officers who wield their authority with restraint, who understand that fear alone cannot forge loyalty. A quiet word from such a commander carries more weight than a shouted threat. But there are others proud, quick to anger, who seem to delight in the power they hold over the common soldier. Under their watch, the camp grows tense, every action measured to avoid drawing unwanted attention. For you and your comrades, it is a daily balance. To show diligence without seeking notice, to obey without seeming servile, to maintain one's place in the line, neither lagging behind nor standing out too boldly. It is an art learned through weary repetition, shaped by countless inspections, endless drills, and the steady thrum of order maintained by threat of punishment. Yet in this harsh world, you also witness moments of humanity. A senior Ashigaru helping a younger man prepare for inspection. A quiet word from an officer sparing a soldier from public shame. Bonds formed in the crucible of discipline, where those who endure together find strength in one another. And always beneath it all, the rhythm of life continues. The call to rise with the dawn. The clatter of armor, the sharp commands, the endless work. Discipline shapes every moment, guiding the Ashigaru through a world where misstep can brings swift reprisal, and obedience is the key to survival. As you settle onto your mat each night, weary from the day's demands, you feel the weight of this life upon you. Yet you endure, as do all who wear the simple armor of foot soldier. The rhythm is unbroken, steady as the beat of a drum. And in its constancy, you find a kind of peace of place within the greater order of the daimyo's army, forged in the fires of harsh justice and cruel discipline. Chapter 12. The Code of Bushido. Myth vs. Reality. Much is spoken among the samurai of Bushido, the way of the warrior. In the words of poets and scholars, it is a path of honor, of loyalty, of unwavering courage in the face of death. Scrolls record its virtues, tales of noble sacrifice pass from mouth to mouth. Yet for the Ashigaru, the common foot soldier who bears spear and toil beneath the banners of great lords, the reality of this code is often seen from a different vantage. You have heard the words often enough, recited by commanders, written on faded scrolls hung in the halls of the fortress. Righteousness, courage, benevolence, respect, honesty, honor, loyalty. Fine words, carved in lacquered wood and spoken with solemn tone. But in the mud of the field, in the hunger of long marches, in the harsh glare of officers, the truths beneath these ideals reveal themselves with sharper edges. Loyalty, you have learned, is expected, but rarely earned in return. The daimyo demands it from all who serve, binding samurai and ashigaru alike to his will. To disobey is death. To desert is dishonor. Yet should fortune turn, should a lord fall from power, those once loyal may be cast aside without a second thought. You have seen men left behind after a campaign lost, stripped of pay, their service forgotten in the shifting tides of alliance. Courage, too, is praised, and rightly so. Yet it is a courage often born of necessity, of fear of punishment more than the lofty call of honor. To flee in battle invites not only shame, but swift and brutal reprisal. And so the Ashigaru holds the line, not from the purity of the warrior's path, but because survival demands it. The samurai speak of respect, of the bonds between those who serve, but ranked in birth draw sharp lines. A foot soldier may train alongside a samurai's retainer, may bleed on the same field. Yet in the eyes of the court, he remains beneath notice. His name will not grace the scrolls of victory. His deeds will pass unrecorded. Respect, in truth, is measured by the weight of one's family name and the favor of those in power. Yet for all the gaps between ideal and reality, Bushido is not without meaning even here, among the ranks of the Ashigaru. In small ways, its spirit lives, in the quiet loyalty between comrades, in the courage found not on the grand stage of battle, but in the endurance of daily hardship, in the honesty shared over a meager meal. These are not the grand gestures sung by poets, but the simple truths that bind the men who march beneath the daimyo's banner. And you, in your own way, walk this path, not the polished road of the noble warrior, but the rough track worn by those whose lives are shaped by duty and survival. You rise each day to serve, to endure, to face the hardships of war without complaint. In this there is a kind of honor, unspoken yet understood among those who share the burden. As you stand your watch tonight, the stars bright above the darkened camp, you reflect on these things. The code may be wrapped in myth, gilded by the words of lords and scribes. But in the quiet acts of those who serve humbly, in the steady rhythm of endurance, the true heart of the warrior's path may yet be found. Morning returns, pale and cool, washing away the reflections of the night. The camp stirs slowly, men rising from thin mats, stretching sore limbs. Another day of drills, of labor, perhaps of marching ahead. You move with them the rituals of life in the daimyo's army so deeply ingrained they require little thought. The officers speak of Bushido again during the morning inspection. Their words ring clear and proud. They remind the ranks of loyalty to the daimyo, of courage in battle, of respect for one's superiors. You and your comrades listen in silence, spears upright, eyes steady. It is a familiar litany heard many times before. Yet beneath the formal words, each man holds his own understanding of what it means to follow such a path. Among the veterans, you hear quiet wisdom passed from one soldier to another. The code, they say, is not for the scrolls alone. It must live in the heart, in deeds, not in grand speeches. The truest loyalty is to those who stand beside you, who share your hardships. The purest courage is not found in reckless charge, but in holding the line when your body screams with fatigue and fear. In the evenings, by the dim glow of campfires, the men speak of samurai who truly embody the code commanders who lead with honor, who see the worth in those who serve beneath them. Their names are spoken with respect, their commands followed with willing hearts, yet all too often, such leaders are rare. More common are those who cloak their ambition in the words of Bushido, yet serve their own advancement above all. For the Ashigaru, honor is not found in the favor of the court, nor in the shine of fine armor. It is in fulfilling one's duty, in aiding a wounded comrade, in standing firm amid the chaos of battle. These are the acts that carry meaning among those who march and fight and endure together. The myths of the noble warrior may inspire, but it is these quiet truths that sustain the ranks. And you, in time, come to embody this understanding. You polish your armor not for show, but so it will protect. You drill with care so your place in the line will hold. You share your rations with those in need, knowing that tomorrow they may do the same for you. These small acts, unnoticed by history, weave a tapestry of endurance and camaraderie. As the campaign wears on, and the army moves from one contested province to another, the gap between myth and reality remains ever present. Yet through it all, the rhythm of your life continues. Each day is shaped by discipline and hardship, by moments of weariness and fleeting pride. And when you raise your spear once more, when you take your place among your comrades, you carry with you the truest lesson of Bushido, that in the humble, unseen acts of duty and honor in the bonds. Forged through shared struggle, the spirit of the warrior endures. Chapter 13. Life after war, forgotten and poor. Not every campaign ends in triumph. Some end in bitter stalemate, others in quiet withdrawal. And when the banners are furled and the commanders ride home in procession, the Ashigaru often find themselves returning not to fanfare, but to silence. The rhythm of war gives way to another rhythm, one shaped by uncertainty, by struggle, by the slow fading of memory. Now the campaign is over. Your unit marched back through lands you crossed many months before. The roads rougher, the villages quieter. The supplies have grown thin. The men march with little energy, their minds turned toward thoughts of home. For some, there's a farm or family awaiting. For others, there's only a familiar village, a place once known but now changed by time and war. You feel the wear of the months upon you. Your armor is battered, your cloak faded. The pack on your back is lighter than it once was, the spoils of war modest at best. For the Ashigaru, plunder is rare, pay uncertain. Much depends on the daimyo's fortunes, on whether the campaign brought profit or debt. At last, the journey ends. You are dismissed from service, at least for a time. The coin in your pouch is thin, just enough for a few weeks, perhaps. You make your way toward home, though the road is long and your steps slow. The village comes into sight. The fields lie fallow in places, the signs of war evident in broken walls and abandoned homes. Those who remain greet the returning soldiers with a mixture of relief and caution. Many have seen too many wars, too many men return only to bring trouble. You find your dwelling if it still stands. You greet old neighbors, though some faces are missing. The life of the village has moved on without you, and you must now find your place once more in this world of soil and seasons. For many Ashigaru, this return is a hard one. Wounds from battle slow the body. The skills of war are of little use in the fields. The coins earned are soon spent. The daimyo's promises fade into the distance. No songs are sung for the foot soldier. No records mark their deeds. You take up the hoe once more or seek labor in the town. Some turn to the guard posts, hired to watch gates or patrol lonely roads. Others drift from place to place, their futures uncertain. The bonds formed in camp and battle begin to fray, each man seeking to survive in his own way. And yet, in the quiet moments of the evening, beneath the thatched roof or the open sky, the memories remain. The long marches, the battles fought, the comrades lost, and the moments of quiet triumph. These live on in your heart, though the world may soon forget. The code of Bushido speaks little of such endings. The scrolls tell of noble deaths and eternal honor, not of weary men returning to empty fields. Yet this too is the truth of the warrior's path, a truth known to every Ashigaru who has shouldered spear and packed beneath the banners of their lord. Now the rhythm of your days is slower. The clang of steel is replaced by the rustle of wind in the fields, the quiet calls of neighbors. Yet in your steps, in your gaze, there lingers the endurance shaped by all you have faced. The life after war is not an easy one, but it too must be walked with the same steady resolve. The days stretch on. The rhythms of peace are gentler than those of war, but no less demanding. You rise with the sun, laboring in the fields or taking odd work where it can be found. The tools in your hands are rougher now, wooden shafts and plowshares instead of spear and blade. Your muscles remember other labors. Your ears still catch the imagined sounds of distant drums. Among the other returned soldiers, you see familiar faces, some drawn thin by hardship, others marked by old wounds. You exchange quiet greetings in the village square or at the market stalls. The camaraderie of the camp has faded, replaced by the simple struggle to survive each day. Coin remains scarce. The little silver earned in Dame Daimyo's service has long since been spent on seed, on mending the roof, on bowls of rice to fill an empty stomach. Promises of land or reward, spoken in the fervor of recruitment, have proved hollow for many. The higher ranks may return to posts of honor. The foot soldier returns to anonymity, and yet life stirs on. Children play in the lanes, merchants call their wares. The rice grows once more in flooded fields. Slowly, the village begins to mend. You find moments of quiet pleasure in these simple things: a well-cooked meal, the cool breeze at dusk, the laughter of neighbors. These small joys, once unnoticed, now carry greater meaning. But beneath the surface, the marks of the past remain. In the night, dreams return. The clash of steel, the cries of the wounded, the endless marshes. You wake often before dawn, the weight of memory pressing on your chest. Some burdens cannot be left on the battlefield. A few among your number find the transition harder still. With no place to return to, no skill beyond war, they drift to the towns, seeking coin where they can. Some fall into the service of lesser lords, hired blades in minor disputes. Others fade into the margins of society, their lives shaped by poverty and the lingering wounds of war. You cling to steadier ground. The fields, the small routines of daily life, offer a path forward. It is not a path of glory, but one of quiet perseverance. The lessons of your time as an Ashigaru remain with you. The discipline of body, the endurance of hardship, the understanding that strength lies not in grand gestures, but in the steady refusal to yield. And so the seasons turn, the years slip by. The wars that once consumed the land begin to fade from daily thought. New lords rise, old alliances shift. The names of great battles become stories told by the fireside. Few remember the foot soldiers who marched those long miles, who held the line in mud and blood, yet you remember. And in the rhythm of your life, in the steady tread of your feet through the fields, there lingers the quiet pride of one who endured, who served, who returned. Not as a hero, not as a name in the scrolls, but as a man who lived the life of an Ashigaru, forgotten and poor yet unbroken. Chapter 14. Ghosts on the Battlefield, in the quiet years after the wars. When the rice fields sway gently beneath the summer winds, and the roads are once more traveled by merchants and pilgrims, the memories of past battles linger in the land. Among the Ashigaru, and among the peasants who tend the soil, stories are told in hushed voices of the spirits of the fallen, of restless ghosts who walk where armies once clashed. You have heard such tales often enough. Around the low fires on autumn nights when the air turns cool and the shadows lengthen, the older men speak of certain fields where no crops will grow, of ruined fortresses where strange lights flicker at dusk, places where it is said the dead are not at rest. There's truth beneath these stories. You remember well the fields of battle, the churned earth thick with blood, the broken spears and shattered banners, the cries of the wounded fading into the cold air. Not all who fell were given the rites of proper burial. Many lay where they fell, nameless and unclaimed. Their bones now part of the soil, their spirits caught between the world of the living and the world beyond. One such field lies not far from your village. A wide open space ringed by low hills, once the site of a bitter clash between rival lords. You passed it often in your youth, but now, having known war yourself, the place carries a deeper weight. You feel it in the stillness of the air and the way birds avoid the trees at its edge. The villagers speak of a pale figure sometimes glimpsed at twilight, moving slowly across the grass. The old priest in the village says that such spirits seek peace, not vengeance, that they linger only because their passing was sudden, their end without proper farewell. Offerings are left at the edge of the field from time to time. A bowl of rice, a sprig of incense, a folded scrap of paper bearing a prayer. Small gestures meant to soothe those unseen presences. You do not scoff at such things. Too much of life as an Ashigaru has taught you that the line between the living and the dead is thinner than many believe. You have felt the chill upon the neck when passing an old battlefield. You have dreamed of comrades long lost, their faces sharp in the darkness of sleep. And yet, there is no fear in this understanding, only a somber respect. For every man who bore arms beneath the daimyo's banners, whether samurai or Ashigaru, knew the risk, knew that death could come swiftly, without glory. To fall in battle was no shame. To be forgotten, to lie unmarked beneath the sky, that is the sorrow. So you pause sometimes when your path leads across such places. You stand in silence, head bowed, a quiet moment for those who did not return. Not because it is required, but because you remember. The rhythm of life moves on, but the memory of the fallen endures, woven into the land itself. And in these quiet acts and the simple honoring of those past, you find a connection that spans beyond rank or station. You were all soldiers once, all bound by the same hardships, the same hopes and fears. In life, as in death, the Ashigaru stand together, unseen but not forgotten. Chapter 13. Life after war, forgotten and poor. Not every campaign ends in triumph. Some end in bitter stalemate, others in quiet withdrawal. And when the banners are furled and the commanders ride home in procession, the Ashigaru often find themselves returning not to fanfare, but to silence. The rhythm of war gives way to another rhythm, one shaped by uncertainty, by struggle, by the slow fading of memory. Now the campaign is over. Your unit marched back through lands you crossed many months before. The roads rougher, the villages quieter. The supplies have grown thin. The men march with little energy, their minds turned toward thoughts of home. For some, there's a farm or family awaiting. For others, there's only a familiar village, a place once known but now changed by time and war. You feel the wear of the months upon you. Your armor is battered, your cloak faded. The pack on your back is lighter than it once was, the spoils of war modest at best. For the Ashigaru, plunder is rare, pay uncertain. Much depends on the daimyo's fortunes, on whether the campaign brought profit or debt. At last, the journey ends. You are dismissed from service, at least for a time. The coin in your pouch is thin, just enough for a few weeks, perhaps. You make your way toward home, though the road is long and your steps slow. The village comes into sight. The fields lie fallow in places, the signs of war evident in broken walls and abandoned homes. Those who remained greet the returning soldiers with a mixture of relief and caution. Many have seen too many wars, too many men return only to bring trouble. You find your dwelling if it still stands. You greet old neighbors, though some faces are missing. The life of the village has moved on without you, and you must now find your place once more in this world of soil and seasons. For many Ashigaru, this return is a hard one. Wounds from battle slow the body. The skills of war are of little use in the fields. The coins earned are soon spent. The daimyo's promises fade into the distance. No songs are sung for the foot soldier. No records mark their deeds. You take up the hoe once more or seek labor in the town. Some turn to the guard posts, hire to watch gates or patrol lonely roads. Others drift from place to place, their futures uncertain. The bonds formed in camp and battle begin to fray, each man seeking to survive in his own way. And yet, in the quiet moments of the evening, beneath the thatched roof or the open sky, the memories remain. The long marches, the battles fought, the comrades lost, and the moments of quiet triumph. These live on in your heart, though the world may soon forget. The code of Bushido speaks little of such endings. The scrolls tell of noble deaths and eternal honor, not of weary men returning to empty fields. Yet this too is the truth of the warrior's path, a truth known to every Ashigaru who has shouldered spear and packed beneath the banners of their lord. Now the rhythm of your days is slower. The clang of steel is replaced by the rustle of wind in the fields, the quiet calls of neighbors. Yet in your steps, in your gaze, there lingers the endurance shaped by all you have faced. The life after war is not an easy one, but it too must be walked with the same steady resolve. The days stretch on. The rhythms of peace are gentler than those of war, but no less demanding. You rise with the sun, laboring in the fields or taking odd work where it can be found. The tools in your hands are rougher now, wooden shafts and plowshares instead of spear and blade. Your muscles remember other labors. Your ears still catch the imagined sounds of distant drums. Among the other returned soldiers, you see familiar faces, some drawn thin by hardship, others marked by old wounds. You exchange quiet greetings in the village square or at the market stalls. The camaraderie of the camp has faded, replaced by the simple struggle to survive each day. Coin remains scarce. The little silver earned in daimyo's service has long since been spent on seed, on mending the roof, on bowls of rice to fill an empty stomach. Promises of land or reward, spoken in the fervor of recruitment, have proved hollow for many. The higher ranks may return to posts of honor. The foot soldier returns to anonymity, and yet life stirs on. Children play in the lanes, merchants call their wares. The rice grows once more in flooded fields. Slowly, the village begins to mend. You find moments of quiet pleasure in these simple things: a well-cooked meal, the cool breeze at dusk, the laughter of neighbors. These small joys, once unnoticed, now carry greater meaning. But beneath the surface, the marks of the past remain. In the night, dreams return. The clash of steel, the cries of the wounded, the endless marshes. You wake often before dawn, the weight of memory pressing on your chest. Some burdens cannot be left on the battlefield. A few among your number find the transition harder still. With no place to return to, no skill beyond war, they drift to the towns, seeking coin where they can. Some fall into the service of lesser lords, hired blades in minor disputes. Others fade into the margins of society, their lives shaped by poverty and the lingering wounds of war. You cling to steadier ground. The fields, the small routines of daily life, offer a path forward. It is not a path of glory, but one of quiet perseverance. The lessons of your time as an Ashigaru remain with you. The discipline of body, the endurance of hardship, the understanding that strength lies not in grand gestures, but in the steady refusal to yield. And so the seasons turn, the years slip by. The wars that once consumed the land begin to fade from daily thought. New lords rise, old alliances shift. The names of great battles become stories told by the fireside. Few remember the foot soldiers who marched those long miles, who held the line in mud and blood, yet you remember. And in the rhythm of your life, and the steady tread of your feet through the fields, there lingers the quiet pride of one who endured, who served, who returned. Not as a hero, not as a name in the scrolls, but as a man who lived the life of an Ashigaru, forgotten and poor yet unbroken. Chapter 14. Ghosts on the Battlefield, in the quiet years after the wars, when the rice fields sway gently beneath the summer winds, and the roads are once more traveled by merchants and pilgrims. The memories of past battles linger in the land. Among the Ashigaru, and among the peasants who tend the soil, stories are told in hushed voices of the spirits of the fallen, of restless ghosts who walk where armies once clashed. You have heard such tales often enough. Around the low fires on autumn nights when the air turns cool and the shadows lengthen, the older men speak of certain fields where no crops will grow, of ruined fortresses where strange lights flicker at dusk, places where it is said the dead are not at rest. There's truth beneath these stories. You remember well the fields of battle, the churned earth thick with blood, the broken spears and shattered banners, the cries of the wounded fading into the cold air. Not all who fell were given the rites of proper burial. Many lay where they fell, nameless and unclaimed. Their bones now part of the soil, their spirits caught between the world of the living and the world beyond. One such field lies not far from your village. A wide open space ringed by low hills, once the site of a bitter clash between rival lords. You passed it often in your youth, but now, having known war yourself, the place carries a deeper weight. You feel it in the stillness of the air and the way birds avoid the trees at its edge. The villagers speak of a pale figure sometimes glimpsed at twilight, moving slowly across the grass. The old priest in the village says that such spirits seek peace, not vengeance, that they linger only because their passing was sudden, their end without proper farewell. Offerings are left at the edge of the field from time to time. A bowl of rice, a sprig of incense, a folded scrap of paper bearing a prayer. Small gestures meant to soothe those unseen presences. You do not scoff at such things. Too much of life as an Ashigaru has taught you that the line between the living and the dead is thinner than many believe. You have felt the chill upon the neck when passing an old battlefield. You have dreamed of comrades long lost, their faces sharp in the darkness of sleep. And yet, There is no fear in this understanding, only a somber respect. For every man who bore arms beneath the daimyo's banners, whether samurai or ashigaru, knew the risk, knew that death could come swiftly without glory. To fall in battle was no shame. To be forgotten, to lie unmarked beneath the sky, that is the sorrow. So you pause sometimes when your path leads across such places. You stand in silence, head bowed, a quiet moment for those who did not return. Not because it is required, but because you remember. The rhythm of life moves on, but the memory of the fallen endures, woven into the land itself. And in these quiet acts and the simple honoring of those past, you find a connection that spans beyond rank or station. You were all soldiers once, all bound by the same hardships, the same hopes and fears. In life, as in death, the Ashigaru stand together, unseen but not forgotten. The seasons pass, one after another. The sharp memories of battle begin to soften, worn down by the steady rhythm of daily life. Yet in quiet moments the past stirs. The old fields, the ruined keeps, the lonely crossroads where soldiers once stood, these places hold echoes that do not fade. The villagers continue to speak of the restless dead. A traveler claims to have seen a line of shadowy figures marching through the morning mist. Another swears that strange music, faint and distant, drifted through the hills one moonlit night. Whether such tales hold truth or are shaped by fear and imagination matters little. They reflect the deep knowing that the land remembers. You too carry these memories. In the long hours of toil, in the stillness before sleep, you recall the faces of those who fell beside you. Comrades whose laughter once filled the camp, whose strength steadied the line in the darkest moments. Their voices linger in your mind, their absence a quiet ache that never fully fades. At times, you visit those old battlefields, alone or with a fellow veteran. There is no ceremony, no grand display. A few words softly spoken, a simple offering left at the edge of the grass. The wind moves gently across the earth, carrying with it the unseen weight of all that came before. Such acts are not for others to witness. They are for you, for those who remember. In honoring the fallen, you honor your own journey as well. The hardships endured, the battles survived, the long road walked since those days of war. Each step you take now is shaped by that past. There are those who believe that in time the ghosts will fade, their stories lost beneath new layers of life. But you know better, the land holds memory. The earth beneath your feet is rich with the footsteps of those who came before. In the turning of the seasons, in the patterns of shadow and light, their presence lingers. And so, as you shoulder your pack for another day's work, as you move through fields once marked by blood and fire, you walk not alone. The rhythm of your life, the quiet endurance that shapes each moment, is part of a longer rhythm still. A rhythm that binds the living and the dead, the present and the past. For the Ashigaru, forgotten by history, this is a kind of immortality. Not in scrolls or songs, but in the memory of the land. In the whispered tales of villages, in the respectful silence of those who remember. And as long as the earth endures, so too will the ghosts of the battlefield.
अरे वो रिकॉर्डिंग चालू कर दी तू